And I want to tell you, we need to send a loud and clear message out on Tuesday. You may not believe this, but there are people all over the country on Tuesday who will be on their computers trying to find out and track what's going on right here in southwestern and southern Illinois. Because they pumped a lot of money in here, they think that our judicial seats are for sale. And I want to tell you something. On Tuesday, we want to send a loud and clear message to the tobacco industry, the oil industry, the insurance industry, and that message should be, Dick Durbin, our senior senator, I mentioned that we were together on Thursday. He has been all over this state. He's been all over the country. And of course, Barack Obama. Barack has only been in office 2 years, but he's done an outstanding job. He's worked very closely with me and other members of the House. He's recognized as one of the most effective senators in Washington, D.C. He is crisscrossing the country. He's doing as much as any Democrat in the Democratic Party anywhere in the United States of America for us to take back the Congress and provide a check and balance to George Bush. So I want to tell you, it's my privilege and it's my honor not only to serve in the United States Congress with Barack Obama, but it's my privilege and honor to introduce him to you today. Please give a warm Southwestern Southern Illinois welcome.
It is so wonderful to see all of you. You know, oh, what's the matter, sweetie? I know, it got kind of noisy there, didn't it? Work all across the state, but I know especially down here, we got some strong union people who believe in working folks getting a fair shake, and you're one of those leaders. And so we're a little meaner to our children and our grandchildren than the one we inherit. And that's unacceptable. That's un-American, because what we've always believed in is that each generation, we're going to make things a little bit better for the next. And the good news is that the American people are paying attention. Because sometimes when they don't pay attention, folks get into mischief. Folks in Washington get into mischief, folks in the State House get into mischief. Let's face it, partly because of 9/11. Gave us reason to be afraid. And so we rallied around the president, and we believed that the party in power would keep us safe, and that ended up being sort of the driving force that put aside all other issues. And oftentimes during elections, there would be divisive issues and social issues that would divide us and drive wedges through us. But I think that the country is in the mood for something different now. You know, some of you I saw waving this book I wrote, The Audacity of Hope. And let me tell you that I'm going to confess to everybody here, I actually stole that line from my pastor. Reverend Jeremiah Wright, Jr., who's the pastor of Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago. When I was a young man, and I wasn't a regular churchgoer, but I had been hired as a community organizer to work on the south side of Chicago where steel plants had closed and thousands of people had been laid off work. Stuff that we understand down here in downstate Illinois as well, because we felt the same thing. Manufacturing leaving overseas and suddenly plants closing, and folks who have been working 20, 30 years in a job find themselves not only without a job but lost their health care, lost their pensions, not having much protection, having to compete with their kids for jobs paying $7 an hour at the local Walmarts. And so this has been happening in this region as well, up in Chicago. And foreclosure signs were up on homes, there was crime on the streets was rising, and folks were getting involved in the drug trade, the schools weren't doing as well as they should have. And I remember working with these churches, setting up job training programs and after-school programs for kids, and I decided, you know, I got to start going to church regular because I'm working with churches. So I go in to Trinity. I wasn't a member then yet. And I go in there, and the title of the pastor's sermon is The Audacity of Hope. And his basic idea was pretty simple, which was that, you know, it's easier sometimes to feel cynical and to think that you can't make a difference. You look around and there's layoffs and people out of work, and healthcare system broken, and young people, dropping out of school, and our transportation infrastructure deteriorating, and there's war around the world, and famine, and conflict. And sometimes you just feel like, you know what, we can't make a difference in that. And it's better off if we just don't even try. And we just look after ourselves and our own families, and we try to protect ourselves as best we can. That's a temptation that we all have. But what my pastor said that day, he said, what's really audacious, what takes risk, what is the thing that really requires a certain audacity, is to hope, to believe that we can make the world better than it is, that we're not stuck with the world as we find it, but we can remake this world so that it's a little more just and a little more fair and a little more equal, and so that people who are vulnerable are protected and everybody's got opportunity. And I love that idea of the audacity of hope, because it said you look squarely at what's really going on in front of you. You don't pretend that things aren't tough out there sometimes, but you still find it within yourself to do something better. And it brings us together as a community. And that, I think, is the mood that the country is in right now. I think the country is starting to regain its faith and its hope that if we come together, that we can actually make things a little bit better. And part of what's made it easier is because the other side, which has been peddling fear and division, has been so bad at just running the country that folks are finally ready to try something new. So they look around and they say, how is it we're spending more money on health care than any nation on earth, but we still have 46 million people uninsured? Yeah. And every family is still seeing their co-payments and deductibles and their premiums going up, and small business owners can't afford to give health insurance to their employees or themselves, and large businesses can't compete internationally because of the burden of health care costs. Why can't we just fix that? I mean, why can't we make sure everybody's got some basic coverage? That's not an ideological thing. That's not a Republican or Democratic thing. That's a common sense thing. That's something we should want to do. And why can't we start doing a better job in the educational system? Because we know now our kids have to compete with young people in India and China, all around the world. So why aren't we giving them better math instruction, and better science instruction? Why don't we start paying our teachers a little bit more? So why would Congress at this point start raising interest rates on student loans precisely at a time when young people we know have to go to college? Why would we know? And they say, we know gas prices have gone down before the election, but we suspect that right after the election they might go back. So why don't we do something to make sure that all these, that the best farmers in the world right here in Illinois, why don't we harness that energy of those crops and convert them into biodiesel and alternative fuels. And they think about how much we love the young men and women who are willing to offer themselves up and in some cases give the ultimate measure of devotion to this country. Why wouldn't we make sure that if we send them overseas, if we send them into war, that there's a plan, and that they've got equipment? The mood that the country's in, they want solutions. They want ideas. They don't want just attacks. And when they look at the track record of the party that's been in power, they say to themselves, that's not good enough. They've had enough. They've had enough of the can't do, won't even try style of leadership. I got to say, not only have I stolen lines from my pastor, I stole that line from Newt Gingrich. About a year ago, Newt Gingrich was interviewed by one of these reporters. He said, boy, it looks like Republicans kind of having some problems here. Katrina, folks left for 5 days sitting on top of roofs, and Iraq's not doing too well, and folks, even though the top 1% has made more money than they've ever made in history, average folks, they haven't seen a real wage increase or a real benefit increase in years. What do you think, what are the Democrats or what are the Republicans going to do? Newt Gingrich said, well, I don't know what I don't know what the Republicans should do, but I tell you, if I was a Democrat, I'd just have a two-word slogan: had enough.